Hello guys, thank you very much for joining in. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help students to excel in their career and become better version of themselves. And I also help students to prepare for the FRM and CFA exam. We have with us one of our students who's been able to clear the FRM level 2 exam in the November 2022 attempt. We're going to be talking to him about his journey, his way of preparation, and what are challenges he faced. So let us go to the discussion. Apoorv, thank you very much for talking to us and giving time to us, first of all. And if you could tell us, uh, how was your preparation for FRM level 2? And when you cleared what was the time when you cleared your FRM level 1? Okay, what happened after that? And what is the overall work experience that you have?
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for having me here. So, a brief about myself is that I cleared my CA final in January 2020, after which I registered for FRM level 1. Because of the COVID in 2020, my exam got postponed to January 21, which is when I cleared my part 1 of FRM. Once I got my result for part 1, I thought I would not be able to get time to study for the May attempt, which is why I registered myself for December 2021 attempt.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I could not clear in that attempt. So after which I registered for the May 22 attempt, which I could not give because of some emergencies in my family. So I had to postpone that to December 22. So this was my second attempt for FRM part 2, which I cleared.
Okay, so when you were appearing for the first time in November 2020, December 2021, what do you feel was the problem, the way you could not prepare properly? Or what was the challenge that led to the failure?
Okay, so I mean, firstly, honestly, I could not get or I did not give enough time for myself to prepare for the exam. So the first thing that was lacking is the basic preparation. So understanding of concepts or maybe enough solving questions. So I could not solve enough questions then. So I think that was primarily the reason because in plain simple words, my preparation was lacking for that exam, which is what I rectified in the second attempt. So what I did is for December 21, I had registered for your video courses because the live batch was not on at that time. So I had registered for that course. And since I said that I could not prepare well for that attempt, so when I registered for the subsequent attempt, what I did is I did not go back to the videos again because I had already seen them once. So I had a gist of what the concept is. So what I did is I again referred the Schwezer books, and this time when I knew that I need to solve more questions, so what I did is I referred to the Binding Turtle question bank.
Okay. Okay. And
Because Schwezer has very limited questions in the chapter, and
yes.
hardly two or three for each learning objective.
When you, so basically you read it twice because first you have seen the videos and you have read the
Yeah.
sections. So you were able to pick up questions from Bionic Turtle.
Yes, so not all, because I know that the level of questions in Bionic Turtle is slightly higher. So I had to refer to their answers when the questions were slightly difficult. So yeah, there was a bit of a high difficulty level in those questions, but that is what I believe made me prepared enough to attend the exam.
So, and this was for the May 2022 exam. Brother?
No, honestly, I could not give my time for May 22 because of some personal reason. So all the preparation that I did was for December 22 attempt.
And when this preparation started, what December?
So I had initially begun my preparation in January 22, but then it stopped in March, and after which I resumed back in July 22. I believe I started in July
Okay.
22.
July 22. And from there you started with the revision once again. So what was
Yes.
the order of the revision? Which book you picked up first?
So I took the same order that you suggested me for the December 21 attempt. So it
Okay.
was firstly, I always prepared for two subjects at a time, because for me, reading one book all the time becomes a little monotonous.
Right.
So I started with two subjects, which is credit risk and investment management. After that, I shifted to market risk and operational risk. Since operational risk is a little bigger book, so till the time I finished market risk, I could not finish operational risk. So then I shifted to liquidity risk with operational risk. And then once ops risk was finished, I went to current issue.
And you were also simultaneously revising and solving, correct?
Yes, yes.
And how much time you were giving on an average?
From June or July onwards, I used to give roughly 2 hours a day on weekdays, and not all weekdays, because I used to carve out some 2 hours or so for maybe 3 days or so during the weekday, and a little more on the weekends, which is like probably 4 hours or so.
Okay, okay, got it. And did you got an opportunity to solve papers by any chance?
No, because what happened is, for me, uh, being a CA, October and early November is like a peak period for us. So I did not get a chance to solve those mock papers. So when I had my preparation leave, which is somewhere around second week of November, I just used that time to solve more questions without mock. So just solve questions and revise the books once again.
Okay, okay. And so primarily you had done 3 revision of the Swedge
Yes.
from the start till the end, if I can summarize. So when you went for the exam, okay, on the day of the exam, what happened in that first 1 hour?
So during the first 1 hour, I did not go through the questions. So whatever order they came in, I just went attempting, and I knew that I had to complete 20 questions an hour so that I can finish 80 within 4 hours. So that was my goal. I did not set any larger objective. 20 per hour was my goal.
And you were able to manage that,
Cut it.
2020.
Yes. So I started judging when I was able to complete 10 in 30 minutes.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
breaking those questions into smaller portions so that I am able to complete everything in time. Because there are some questions will require more time. There are some questions which are like, if you know the answer by reading the options, you know it. Otherwise, you don't know it. You cannot do anything about it. There is nothing to think about it. They are plain and simple, fill in the blank sort of questions. So for
Got it.
those, you don't usually require time. For the questions that are heavy on the calculation part, that required a little more time.
Okay, okay. And so how many theory and how many calculation questions were there in the exam?
So I mean, I would not be able to tell you the number, but the
Enough,
calculation
estimate.
questions were substantially lesser. So it was more of
Achha.
theory and less of calculation based questions. But
Okay.
what I would like to mention over here is, so in the calculation based question, what GAR did is, I remember one question very clearly wherein they put in two calculations.
Oh,
So
shit.
this question was about CVA. So for the credit value adjustment piece, they gave us two counterparties, one with positive exposure, one with negative exposure, and
Okay.
they had a choice of like counterparty A and B, and then four options.
Okay, so you have to calculate the CVA for both the counterparties and
For
then
both
decide
of them, yes, and then decide which pair is the right answer.
which counterparty will be suitable for you, basically.
No.
Great.
You just have to you just have to calculate the CVA, but the answer, the four options were four pairs, because CVA for each counterparty you had to calculate.
Achha, okay, samjha. It was not taking a decision, it was just the calculation.
It was just the calculation, but to add a sort of difficulty to it, they just put in two counterparties and four pairs.
Oh, wow, this is a very interesting question. So, such kind of question, and whatever is the calculation-based question, were the straightforward formula-driven questions?
Yes, more or less straightforward formula question. Yes.
Okay. And theory was, which ideally should be complicated, because in that you will have to choose between the two options.
Yes.
Wonderful. Now, when the result came in, okay, so before that, when you came out of the exam, was there any number in your mind that, okay, out of 80, I'll get this much?
No, but I was fairly sure that I would clear this time.
Okay. And when you were solving the theory also, you were confident that whichever option you're picking, you are more confident because of the reading that you have done.
Yes. So for those theory questions, the question that I found difficult during the exam time, I used to mark them. They have this option of marking the questions. So after attempting all my 80 questions, I just counted how many questions I have marked. So what if all those questions go wrong? What if all those questions go wrong? What position will I be in? I did not segregate what book it is because that is difficult to do during the exam time, but I just counted what number it was, and I thought that this is not a great number. So even if all those are wrong, I am in a good position to at least clear the exam.
Okay. Okay. And then when you, what are the quartiles that you've got?
Now, so I mean, I'm not really
No problem. So roughly, if you would remember.
roughly. So I've got 4 in 1. I've got 3 in 2. I've got 2 in 1, and I've got 1 in 2.
Okay. I think so. I have the file. I'll just quickly open it for the benefit of the audience. So market risk was 4th quartile.
Yes.
Credit risk was 3rd quartile. No, sorry. Credit risk was 2nd quartile. My bad. Operation was 1st quartile. And liquidity was 3rd quartile. Risk management was 4th. And current issues was also 4th. So basically, your credit risk and operation risk kind of saved you pretty well.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. And when you're looking at the preparation now, if I have to ask you, can you give 3 tips from your end to prepare for the FRM level 2 exam? What would be those 3 tips from your side?
So firstly, as you read my results, so credit risk is what I excelled in. So that comes from my actual practical experience during the course of my job. So firstly, one should focus on what is aligning with what you do practically as a part of your job, because that is where you can score more, is what I believe. Because your knowledge is not restricted to what is printed in the book. You know what is actually done. You know how it is done. So that is firstly. Secondly, you need to concentrate a lot on something that you don't do at all. So for me, it was market risk. I have no exposure of market risk as my as a part of my job. So that is something you need to be very sure about, because you cannot fall back on your experience to answer the question.
Got it. So basically, identifying strengths and weaknesses on the basis of experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thirdly, solve as much as questions as possible, because I did not solve them in my first attempt, which is what I think that went wrong in the first attempt.
Okay. Wonderful. And now when the results are out, what has been the reaction of people around you, your friends, your office people? What has been the reaction?
So, I mean, everybody is happy with it, and uh, people are not very familiar with what is FRM currently. So, I believe that more and more who are in the finance background should pursue FRM, so people know about it, because there are people who want to do something, have a degree in finance, but they don't know anything about FRM. Everybody knows about CFA, but there should be more awareness about FRM. So that is why I tell as many people as possible, especially my who are from the financial background, so that if one needs to pursue something like this, they can come forward with it.
Got it. Wonderful. And I'm sure this experience of yours of preparing for the exam, how you managed the failure and how you went, because there were 2 hiccups that happened. Your first attempt not clearing, second attempt you have to defer. You still managed to clear the exam, and that is going to be a huge motivation for other students to clear their exam also. And the way the journey went on is also going to be very helpful for them to prepare for
I'll be
it.
glad if that helps people.
Yes, definitely, this is because every student has their own journey. So by understanding how other people have cleared, at least I get some guidance. Because a lot of students on level 2 they prepare on their own. So from that perspective, they don't have exposure of how other people are clearing the exam. So this interview will definitely help them and guide them in this journey. Thank you, Apoorv. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.